Hey everyone, welcome to today's video where we're gonna close look at NIO swap stations, trying to figure out how much money they will be able to make in the up and coming years on annual rate and how we arrive at those numbers. And I would say the easiest way to look at this, start with the number of swap stations. We can see that currently they have around 3,500 swap stations across the globe. Most of these are in China. I believe around 60 to 70 are in Europe. The rest of them are in China. So almost 3,400 in China. Currently they're building around 30 swaps a month, and they have also built around 463 swaps through 2025, so this year alone. But we can also see that the number of swaps on average per day is now getting close to 100,000 or so. I mean, some of the peaks are higher, especially during the holidays. And knowing that the Onvo production and ramp up is going quite well, I mean, you can see that Onvo last week has the vehicle insurance registration number around 3,800, so just below 4,000. So they are really trying to ramp up these Onvo deliveries, especially the L90 and obviously the older one, the L61, the smaller car. So everything is starting to look really, really nice in terms of volume, right? At the end of the day, when you have the swap infrastructure, you'd like to have the more of the cheaper cars rather than fewer of the, more expensive premium NIO ES8. And also speaking of ES8, you can see that they just released the interior of that car, and something tells me like this car looks just so great in every single way, in my opinion. And looking at the interior design of this car, I think this is a clear step above the Onvo cars, right? So they are clearly like trying to separate the terms of premium feeliness of the traditional premium NIO brand. I think this is a step above, most the Chinese cars, probably every single Chinese car. I mean, this is close to Mercedes, and I would easily take this car ahead of a Mercedes or BMW any day of the week, right? I mean, I truly like that kind of interior. So I think there's a lot of things going even on the, the premium brand. We know that they've been struggling a little bit. There's been some kind of cannibalization in terms of, if you look at the weekly insurance numbers, like around 2,500, 2,100, 3,400. And if you just go back to, let's say, what they used to have last year, I mean, if you go to last year, let's go to end of August, right? And we're gonna see that NIO used to have like 4,000, like 4,600, 6,000, 4,500. So well above the current deliveries that they are averaging right now. But this is because, Onvo, and there's gonna always be some cannibalization. In addition to that, a few of the premium brand cars are gonna, have their facelift in a few months from now. So I would say that most likely the numbers that we are seeing are on the low side. So summarizing the delivery expectations on a weekly basis, I would expect that NIO can try to get in at least in the low 7,000s and maybe even in like close to 8,500 a week by end of Q3. And that's really important because this means also that the fleet size, the number of cars, like the number of NIO cars that are able to swap their batteries, is going to increase very rapidly now. And they're going to probably do, I don't know, like if you look at my own numbers, I'm kind of expecting 37, almost 40,000 cars every single week, every single month now from September and onwards, right? That's gonna truly help with the number of swaps on average every single day. By end of this year, I wouldn't be surprised if NIO does like, let's say, close to 130, 140,000 swaps every single day, right? Especially during the holidays, maybe even having a few days well above 150, 160,000 swaps every single day. And if you assume $10 cost of each swap, that's probably like, million to million and a half, maybe even in some cases, if they are like 12 or 13 US dollar. Maybe you guys that are in China that have more information on the actual cost of each swap, we probably, I mean, even if you assume like 12 or 13 US dollar, we're gonna get a couple of million or so revenue every single day. That's like 600 to 700 million every single year coming from the swap station. Now, what kind of margins would they have? It's very difficult to know that. But we know that they already have built out majority of the swap stations, at least for the up and coming year or two, right? Because the capacity is huge. Each swap station can handle around 420 swaps per day, but they're averaging around 28, 29 swaps per day. So they are underutilized. They're like well below their maximum capacity, not even like 6 or 7% essentially. So NIO can easily double the fleet size once, and even yet again, and like 2 or 3 times, and they would still be at just like 20 to 30% of actual capacity of what these swap stations can handle. So I would say I wouldn't expect NIO to go full out on offensive here. I would most likely expect them that maybe slow down the pace of build out of the swap stations. And we also know that the lithium carbonate price has gone down over the past 5 years. Obviously, if you zoom out, you can see here that the current price peak is just like a blip on the radar. If you look at like what's happening during the past, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. But in all essence, I would say that if you zoom out, you can see that the lithium carbonate price is truly kind of in the low levels that we'd like it to be. This also tells me that NIO at some point will start to kind of make quite a lot of money on the swap infrastructure, right? That's at least the target. So I would say that if they actually for once now come out and quite aggressively mention that, you know, they're not going to build out 1,000 or 1,200 swaps every single year, maybe, you know, they satisfy with 500, we could easily see this company start to print quite a lot of money. Like for a car company, assume just a simple math, like $10 per swap, and you do like what, 120, 130,000 every single day. That's 1.2 to 1.3 million every single day, right? Times 365, that's $500 million. And you have to imagine, like, what is the cost of these swap stations? They probably already paid for all of the, you know, the batteries. Sure, there's a lot of like service and all this kind of stuff, but that's not going to be a whole lot on the grander scheme. So even if they just, you know, have 20% margin on that $500 million or so revenue, that's 100 million just in profit. And if the, you know, this the fleet size, i.e. the number of cars that are NIO branded that are going to be able to swap batteries, double over the up and coming 2 years, they could easily have like, I mean, let's say $1 billion, $1.5 billion in revenue only from the swap stations. That is something that no other car company is going to have. So maybe we are starting to see the market like realizing this, in my opinion. But all depends on, you know, cost control. If the grander scheme, if the company as a whole, if they don't manage to become profitable, it's not gonna matter. You know, no one is gonna say, oh, but you know, in 2 years' time they're gonna print a lot of money, at least, you know, a couple of 100 million every single year only from the swap infrastructure that they got so much trouble for building out, like during 2022, 3, 4, and 5. If they don't, you know, become profitable by end of this year, or at the very latest, like showing some signs getting close to that kind of target, then it's not gonna matter. But if they do, then all of a sudden, you know, this stock becomes quite, you know, cheap, in my opinion. I'm leaning towards, you know, finally a bit more bullish, but I have yet to wait to see, you know, the amount of net loss that they're gonna print over the up and coming, you know, Q2 earnings reports that's gonna be launched in a couple of weeks from now, but also in Q3, Q4, and Q1 of next year. Or are we gonna see like another like $1 billion or so net loss, you know, I don't know, 2 or 3 quarters from now? Obviously, I don't think that, but again, we have to wait and see. I don't think the market has a whole lot of trust for this, you know, management team, and just the NIO brand has been a little bit, you know, shaken over the past 3 or 4 years due to the, you know, simply the financial performance of the company, and i.e. the management, like how they in a lot of cases wasted quite a lot of resources, you know, the NIO phone and all these different brands. Remember that they have like 9 or 10 different NIO models only, like just in the main brand. Then we already have like 2 Onvo cars, 2 Onvo models, 1 Firefly, and those will also have, you know, another 1 Firefly coming probably very soon. We know that the Onvo L80 is gonna come out very soon. Obviously L80 is kind of the L90 in some sense, so you know there's some sort of share technology for sure. But in any case, they have a lot of models, so the R&D budget is quite, you know, bloated for a company with, you know, with this kind of sales compared to like, I don't know, Tesla on, you know, the amount of R&D money they spend on each single car sold is quite high. The same goes if you compare that number to, for example, the main competitor, maybe Xpeng. So again, it's a lot of stuff that needs to become together by end of, let's say, at least by end of 2026. But in my opinion, the swaps infrastructure, if they just manage to be somewhat conservative, do 500-600 maximum every single year, and try to get up the swaps per station, like the average number of swaps per station every single day, close to 45 maybe by end of next year, and start to, you know, really utilize all this spent money on these 3,500 swap stations, and now actually start to earn some money based on, the amount of swaps, like 100,000, 200,000 a day, maybe by end of next year. I mean, by end of next year, they could easily do even what, I don't know, let's say very close to 200,000, I would say. And on that kind of level, they could easily start to make hundreds and hundreds of millions of US dollar in just profit from the swap infrastructure, I do think. But in any case, that was just a quick update specifically looking at the swap infrastructure. But long story short, if they play everything correct, they have already built out quite a large network, and the lithium carbonate price kind of plays in their hand currently, because despite the past couple of months skyrocketing of the lithium carbonate price, you see that if you zoom out, it's just a blip on the radar. And again, the number of cars sold is starting to get some traction. Like, I'm expecting well above 30,000 deliveries in August, and maybe like 37, 38,000 in October. In December, I'm expecting at this kind of rate, maybe well above 40,000. So things are kind of going in the right direction. Anyways, that was just a quick update on the swap infrastructure. Thanks for your time, and see you in the next one.